This is the Business Stuff Podcast. This is where I will share the lessons I've learned from advising thousands of businesses over almost 30 years. Each episode will give you practical insight to allow you to learn from other people's mistakes. I'll be pulling in experts from our team and the world of business, and together we'll make sure your business is giving you what you want. My name is Martin, and this is the Business Stuff Podcast. So, hi, it's Marty from the Accelerator team. I'm here with Jack again. How are you doing, Jack?
2 weeks in a row, God. Well, actually, I don't know which
order these are going out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you've already seen that we did an episode on right sizing, and I think I might have mentioned in right sizing the idea that you should measure and monitor a lot of things to make sure you're getting it right. Mm-hmm. One of the things we talked about was making sure you had the right work coming in to give you the most profitable performance from your team.
Yeah.
And then making the team fit around that. So I thought it was worth covering off something called the 5 ways. I just call it the 5 ways. Different coaching strategies and different coaches have variations on this. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people jump into, well, how can we make more profit? And they don't realise that profit is just an answer at the end of a sum, the end of a formula. Mm-hmm. And they often misinterpret how this actually works. So I thought we could just natter around the things that go into making up profit.
It ties in with another tool that we use called the 5 whys. Not the 2 5s just happen to be incidental, but it's essentially the idea that you need to kind of work your way back. Some people, you may tackle the symptom of an issue,
which
in some cases, like, we're not making any profit, so let's focus on profit. But actually, if you go back, like, well, where does your profit come from? Well, it comes from our sales. Well, what about our sales? And you keep going back further and further.
And you solve the problem at the root.
Yes, that's the plan.
So not connected, just happens to be 5, but not connected.
It works well.
So there's 5 things that go into making up profit anyway, and we can just cover them off. We've got them on a board in front of us, even though we know them.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so
let me cover it then. If
you've got the number of leads that come in.
Yeah.
You then look at how many of those leads you convert. Mm-hmm. So you can control the number of leads. You can control the conversion of a lead into a client. You can then have an influence over how much the client spends with you and how often. Mm-hmm. And clients times the number of spend times the average spend is your turnover. And then you can look at how profitably you deliver that service, which is then you look at the profit margin or the cost of delivering that service.
And that's looking at the waste of, well, how much time am I spending, how much expense
is the right person doing it at 100 of the things.
Exactly,
so,
and that ties in nicely with the right sizing stuff, as you said.
So if we take these 5 things you can easily influence, and I think there's quite an important thing here, and I've done this kind of thing before, maybe not necessarily on the podcast, but if you improve your performance on each of these 5 areas by, I think, 10%, mm-hmm. you get an overall something like 64% increase in the profit. Mm-hmm. Because if I said to you as a business owner, we're going to improve your profits by 60-odd%, you go, well, I would love to, but never. Whereas if I say, here's 5 things you need to improve by 10%, all of a sudden that sounds more achievable. Yeah. The imposter doesn't just kick in and go, why try?
No chance.
Why try?
Yeah.
So we can talk about this then. Now obviously, if we say that everything is dependent on the number of leads that come through your door, and we then say, well, how to improve the number of leads? Mm-hmm. That's marketing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's all about your visibility and your credibility. And again, we probably talked about this on the website as well. Yeah. But there are things you can do, very straightforward things in terms of increasing your visibility. That's something that you can address pretty much straight away. It's either getting a bigger digital presence, even if that's just posting on LinkedIn a bit more and being more active on there, or just kind of turning up at networking events and getting your name out there.
I mean, there's often overlooked as well is you've got a client base who, if they're happy and loyal, if they're loyal customers, mm-hmm. they'll only be happy to help spread the word for you as well. Yeah, because that is the most. However you get the lead in mm-hmm. is a secondary thing, but there's literally hundreds of ways you can generate leads. Mm-hmm. And depending again on where you look at this, referrals are better than leads, but for this purpose, all we're saying is someone who isn't a customer and has never been a customer, how do we convert them into a customer?
Yeah, getting them interested in buying, essentially.
So once you get someone to basically look at your stuff, to ask for a proposal, to pick your product up in store, whatever the version is in your business, we just want people who are in a position where they may buy. That's what we talk about by getting leads in. So if you were, you know, back in the day, if you were a record shop down a back alley of Northumberland Street, you'd have someone with an A-board saying, you know, go down there with records. Well, they've probably got more people walk in their door than someone who didn't have that. So there's no right or wrong way. It's just make sure you're doing something.
Everyone's taken away from this, all right, I need to employ someone to work on Northumberland Street.
But the point is, like, you know, if you're not actively marketing, if you're not actively looking for leads, then, you know, you're not going to get any sales, are you? Because if you've only ever got the clients you've got today or the customers you've got today, that'll diminish, waste, you will go backwards. So any thriving or growing business needs to make sure they've got prospects walking through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And similarly, kind of like that's visibility, and the credibility side is something else. It's just like getting something out there which shows that you're good at what you say you're good at.
Because in, you know, most people will now do online research on almost everything they do. They'll do some online research,
even with a referral.
Yeah. So yeah, even if I say to Jack, you've got to go there, they're awesome. You're probably going to still do some research on who I've recommended, and there might be stuff there that puts you off. You might go, well, I trust Marty, but they don't look like they're for me.
Yeah.
Then, you know, and they've lost that essentially, haven't they?
Yeah, and I've had meetings with clients where they've said like their lack of online presence has lost them a lot of work, even though it's been direct referral stuff saying these guys are mint. Like they turn around and go, well, potentially this is a big chunky piece of work, and if you haven't got a website, then
you might be, but you don't look it.
Yeah, you've got a massive red flag.
Yeah. So how you get your leads is up to you. I think what I should have said at the start here is, at the start of any exercise here, it would be really interesting if you actually know the answer to any of these. So if you said to a business, well, how many leads do you get? They should know that.
Yeah.
If they don't know that, how do they know if it's enough? Quite simply.
Totally, yeah.
How do you know what % you convert?
How do you know your marketing's working?
Yeah.
Or if you need any marketing, because again, a lot of small businesses go, well, I don't need it, I'm busy.
Everyone knows me.
Yeah. I know everyone that I need to know.
Statement and be like, yeah, everybody knows me.
Yeah.
All right. So you get the leads. You should know what number you've got. If you then get 100 leads a week, you need to be 110. 10 more leads is achievable. We're not on about, you know, doing anything unbelievable here. We'll get 10 more leads, we'll make a hell of a difference.
Totally, yeah.
So the next step is then, obviously you get the lead, you've got to convert. And again, if you should know your conversion rate. You should know how many people knocked on your door and asked for something, and then how many actually turn into a paying customer.
And it's such an important metric, the conversion rate. And it's strange though, because although we're talking about increasing the conversion rate, there's probably a point where you hit diminishing returns, where your conversion rate's a bit high, maybe a symptom of something wider, and maybe around your pricing. You
might be too cheap, yeah. So because the next inevitable question is, what is a good conversion rate?
Yeah, and everyone asks that, and you're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
there's so many factors to it.
Based on your business, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. It depends on your capacity. Like, it's very strange where you have a client that comes to us who's incredibly busy, like, I've got so much work to do, and you're like, all right, cool, so what's your pricing? And you're like, well, I don't think I'm pricing enough. And you're like, well, why don't you put your prices up? Like, oh, well, I can't. It's like, well, yeah, you can.
Well, you're winning every job at the minute.
Yeah, you've got this pipeline full of people that you've never worked for you before, so like, why not try that on them? Yeah. Put it up by half, put it up by double. Like, see what happens.
Because this comes into the next thing to some degree is you know, the average spend of each customer, and then the number of times they buy, or if you're a shop, how many things do they buy while they're in the shop? Again, I'm sure you can apply this to any industry in any sector. But what's really interesting is I talk to people who've got hundreds of leads, but they can't possibly satisfy every one of those leads. They will just get sick and go away, because people will only wait so long. Yeah. Unless you're waiting for something that literally exists in one place. Eventually people will get sick and they'll go away. So you shouldn't have too many leads. Your pipeline shouldn't be too big. And one way to naturally filter that is to make sure you only attract the people that you want in the first place. So if perversely or conversely you are getting a lot of leads but you weren't winning any, well, you're wasting your time and their time pitching for something you're never going to get. Yeah. So you should look at what, like, the content on your website. If everyone thinks you're too dear, well, don't attract them in the first place. Yeah. So have your pricing on the website. That'll filter away a lot of these people you're wasting your time on that you're never going to win anyway.
Yeah, and people are so worried about that. It's just like, oh my God, like, I'm potentially losing out on so much work. It's like, well, was it work that you ever wanted to do to start off with?
What's the work you weren't going to win? Yeah. But also, if you're winning every job, Well, if you're doing work for someone you've never worked for, the next time you give a quote to a brand new prospect, just put the price up and see what happens. Test.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you win it, well, that becomes your new price. It's nice and simple. You should be more scientific than that when you're working out your pricing. But if you're absolutely jammed, you've got more work than you can possibly fulfill, something has to give. Why not do a simple test like put your price up?
Yeah. And we've talked about it on the pod so many times about the oversubscribed model.
Yeah.
Where ultimately you just want to have doing as little amount of work for as fewer people as possible for a higher price.
Yeah.
Why make your life difficult by having loads of different customers paying little
who
bits
you'll never see again. Yeah.
Rather than having a group of hardcore, dedicated, massive supporters of the business, like servicing them.
Yeah. And this is possible in any industry again. You might say, well, if I'm a shop, I need people through the door buying as much as possible. Well, Apple don't do that. Apple stores they barely got anybody in, but every time they buy, they spend $1,000.
Yeah.
It works. That's why the shops are empty and seemingly overstaffed, because they've got a good markup on the thing they sell. So
but
it can work for anyone.
Yeah, and you can transfer that into a corner shop as well. If you provide amazing service, like people are going to keep coming back. Yeah. And you can charge
actually sell what they want. Yeah. That's where the convenience store price levy comes from. Well, I can get it walking over the road. Tesco and Asda might be cheaper, but they're not over the road. Yeah. So the next thing, so we talked about leads. We convert as many as we can. The first two parts, that gives you the number of customers.
And again, that's something else you should really know, which people may not necessarily know how many customers they've got.
Yeah, how many customers you've got. And because then what you do is you say, well, I've got this many customers. This is the average value of each time they spend. This is how often they spend. So this is where then, if you were a shop, this is why you put the sweets near the till. I think that's dying now as a thing, but well, you know, the parents have been in, done that big shop, and then on the way out the kids grab 2 Kinder eggs. Well, why not? Because you want them to buy more while they're in there.
There's expertise in supermarkets and stuff, you see it all the time, where they have they know just by the human sciences where to put the stuff with the highest margin. It's at eye level. Yeah. Rather than having, you generally see kind of the home round stuff on lower down or higher up, but the stuff that they want you to buy is at eye level.
I think it was Danica, Danica said, if you notice on a lot of the kids' cereals, the characters are always looking slightly down. They're looking at the kids, almost like in a nod, creepy way, winking at the kids, going, buy me, I'm tasty. But yeah, I mean, on a simpler basis than that, you can just manage your list of customers or clients and sell more to them, because it's easier to sell to an existing client or customer than it is to find a new one.
And cheaper, for your marketing.
Because you haven't got to find them. So make sure you've got your mailing lists up to date, make sure they're putting relevant content there, making sure, complying with GDPR at all times, but make sure all of your customers are aware of all of the stuff you do. So again, I mentioned Apple. You go and buy a laptop with Apple, and it'll say, "Oh, are you sure you don't want a bigger screen and more memory?" And these things are eye-wateringly expensive. I don't know where Apple gets their memory from, but it's the dearest memory you can buy. But yeah, people buy the bigger laptop memory because they're on there anyway. They've already decided to buy, and they get another couple of £100 for a memory upgrade while you're there. And Amazon do this, of course. You know, this is normally bought with this. Oh, I didn't even know I needed that.
Yeah, but I do now.
And you probably didn't. but yeah, you'd probably buy it anyway, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's just the ability to cross-sell and upsell all of your services. And even if it's possible just to get someone on some kind of retainer basis. Yeah. So they're still paying you even if they're not necessarily with you. Which
software has done a lot of that now. Software as a service. You know, you used to buy a disk from, Microsoft that had Office on. £100 or whatever, and you could install it. Then they thought, people are using that more times than they should. We'll put pins on. And now you just, I don't even know if you can get a CD version now of Office.
Probably on the dark web or something like that.
But you just pay monthly, don't you?
Yeah.
And now, everyone who's, I don't know what percentage of PC users, but a fair few now just pay Microsoft monthly. I think fantastic win, you can't knock them for that. Got a lot of things you can knock them for, but
they've obviously gone through the five 5 ways then, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I sat down with Bill a while ago. Talked about it.
Yeah, we've got him on a retainer now.
So again, I like to just keep going through this. We've got the number of leads, we convert the percentage we want. We're monitoring these things. We're making sure we're converting as many as we can, whilst getting our pricing right, because the price we get off the customer and the frequency of purchase, they're 2 of the other 5 ways. And then the only other thing we can convert, really, they all give us our turnover or the revenue.
Yeah.
The only thing we can control then really is delivering that thing with profit or profitably.
Yeah.
Which then you then look at the cost of delivery, and that's the other thing you can control. So again, we've talked about making sure you get your jobs priced right to be as profitable as possible, but also you've got to look at, this is probably where you go to your wastes. Like,
totally, yeah.
Are you wasting any time or money here in the delivery of that service?
Yeah, like inappropriate processing in terms of the wrong people, over-servicing the stuff, you promise them this and you end up doing more, like you're over-servicing. I mean, stuff around like travel and stuff, like are we factoring in travel time? Do we need to travel? Like, if we're providing a service.
So if you're a plumber and you say, well, I'll take any job in the northeast, why not do jobs within 3 mile of your base? Why not super niche into South Tyneside if you live in South Shields? Why not do that? But
or
again,
if you've got jobs booked out, like surely you should do it with some kind of idea in mind.
Gosforth on Thursday anyway.
Yeah.
Get 2 or 3 jobs.
Rather than I've got a job in Gosforth, then I'm going to go to Gateshead, then I'm going to go to Morpeth, and then I'm going to go back to Gosforth.
I'm going to go through the tunnel 3 times, and I know some residential cleaning businesses have this quite a lot. They'll say like, oh well, trying to build a business. Well, can you do Gosforth? Yeah, I will. I haven't got any other but I will.
Yeah.
They've then got an hour's worth of travel on both ends of only an hour's worth of clean.
Yeah.
So it's taking 3 hours to do an hour's worth of clean. Terrible waste.
And then
if you're going to get into Gosforth, do that, but then you've got to, make sure you hammer home getting Gosforth filled. Otherwise it's a waste of a day,
Yeah, you need to fill a day otherwise.
Yeah.
Unless you take the loss on the chin and go, well, it's travel time, I can't pass it on, or you do pass it on. And then the customer's immediately going, why are you charging me twice as much?
Why am I paying 45 quid an hour instead of 15? See how you pay for 3 hours, So again, that's one of we talked about getting your number of leads in, the right leads. So don't market any job in the northeast if you just want jobs in a certain area. It seems common sense, but people do it all the time.
Yeah.
And they're desperate to chase the job because they want more money, not realising that they're not making any more money on it. Other simple ways to look at your costs as well is, Martin Lewis would say, price check. Actually take some time to make sure the thing you're buying at a competitive rate. When you renew your insurance, don't just renew your insurance, get some prices.
Yeah.
Look at your subscriptions, look at what's coming out of your bank account. You've probably got 3 or 4 bits of software that you've bought, trialled, it's rolled over in a paid thing that you've never used.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get rid of them. Or use them. Like, I'm not against software, but look at the waste, Sometimes the waste thing is quite a hard thing to do sometimes if you haven't got much time. Easy wins though, flick through your direct debit list on your bank account, cancel the ones.
Yeah,
the worst that'll happen is it's something you use and they'll go, oh, by the way, I'm cutting you off. Oh no, sorry, you renew it. So
yeah, I mean, what we found a lot was people sign up for software and they go, yeah, we need to roll that out. It's a good idea, and then they just never get around to it. And then it's just a cycle.
We do it. Yeah, I mean, because accountancy software is now all basically monthly subscription in the main. We have to do this all the time. We have to try this software. So you normally buy a few licenses. You've just got to remember to pack it in if it's not working,
Yeah, exactly.
Because we look at a lot of software quite a lot. So yeah, and I don't know if we can put this as a graphic somewhere then, James, or maybe we'll just upload it somewhere. I don't know, but so
he's nodding. It's fine.
Number of leads times your conversion rate gives you the number of customers. That's the first part of the formula. Your customers will then be multiplied by how much they spend, their average spend, times the number of transactions in a year. That will then give you your turnover. Turnover times your profit margin is your profit. And the profit margin is affected by cost. So we'll look at those 5 things. There's only 5. If you can set out to increase each of those by 10%, which is achievable, I think it gives you a 64% profit increase at the end of the year, which anyone would take. That's not bad going, And I suppose if you're trying to structure these things, don't do them all at once. Spend the first quarter nailing your profitability, or the next quarter getting more leads. Don't do them all at once. Just break these down.
Yeah, and I suppose, as we said at the start, it's about measuring it as well. Like, it's all well and good trying to change these things, but if you're not actually benchmarking it against a period, like something that happened in the past, then how do you know if you're improving?
Yeah, you don't know if it's improved or not, do you?
Yeah, if you sat down with a client in 3 months' time and went, so how many more leads have you got? And they're like, oh, I don't know.
Feels like I've had more.
I feel like I'm busy. And you're just like, all right, well, how many? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I think a lot of people overcomplicate these things. I don't think there's been an easier time now to accurately measure these things. I think that the capture software, whether it's a chatbot on your website, whether it's just you have an inbox for all incoming queries, and you just count how many times you have an email in your inbox on the sales one. It's never been easier to measure these things. If you just put tiny little tweaks, will let this data just fall out the back. And
we're talking about software. There's a lot of improved functionality in a lot of software that people have, like, for example, accountancy software.
Yeah.
Stuff like Xero, where you can raise a quote in it, convert that to an invoice if it gets approved.
Yeah.
And again, how can you measure your leads? Well, I can measure, and your sales conversion as well. I'll just look at my quotes. And
how many quotes did it send out, and how many jobs have you done?
Yeah, one. Bang. That's the first part of it done.
Yeah.
Very easy win. And again, it improves the entire customer journey as well. Like, imagine if you had a plumber come out to you and you went like, right, that's okay, I've had a look at the job. And then he gets in his van, 3 clicks, bang, quote, and your phone rings and you go, oh, bloody hell.
I've got the proposal already.
Yeah, and he could have won the job before he's even driven away from the house.
Before the competitor's even been out and drove you for a quote. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Whilst he's waiting 3 days for someone to pull together a quote for him.
Yeah.
So all of this kind of comes together, and it can have, by focusing on it, on even one specific area, it can have a wider effect on your entire, profitability, I suppose.
Because I suppose we haven't really gone into the detail on any of these, and we could do half an hour on each of these easily. But your conversion, well, ask the people who don't sign up why they didn't sign up. It won't take long, but you might find some people are a bit more honest than you want, but you need to know that. It's good feedback. Why did you not sign up with us? You never sent me a quote. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whoops.
Sorry about that. Well, then you just, basics. Make sure everyone gets a quote. Make sure it's in writing. You can see it. Xero is fantastic for this. Give everyone a proposal from Xero. It shows you whether they've seen it. So you don't need to worry about, well, have they seen it or not? It tells you if they've seen it. They can ask questions. Does this include, getting rid of the rubble? Yes. All right, okay. If you don't make it easy for people to do that type of thing, they won't. They're just as busy as you are doing whatever their thing is.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to make it as easy as possible. Yeah. So, Jack, obviously you see a lot more people on the coaching side than I do. How many of your clients do you think, if you ask those 5 metrics, they would be able to give you them?
Not as many as there should be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anecdotal evidence where they can go, yeah, well, I probably can't give you an exact number for the leads, and I reckon I've got a conversion rate best of 60%. I
win about half. I win most.
Yeah.
I win more than I lose. By how many?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think all of the data's there or thereabouts, but they're not using it as a metric for anything. It's just wasted almost. It's just like, well, particularly again if you're using a half decent piece of software which is being maintained in a decent, to a decent level, you can pull some of this stuff off pretty quickly.
One thing that I always find interesting as well, if you look at this, you're going to improve 5 areas by 10%, but if you've got, someone like us who've got 100 odd people, we could challenge each department to come up with 3 things that improve profitability by 1%. And then when you compound that across the building, it should be quite easy. No one person has to sit and spend 6 months of the year trying to do this. If you've got a team you trust and you just say to each department, you've got to improve your profitability by 10%. All right, okay then. If you've got the right leadership structure and team structure in place, this doesn't all fall down to the business owner, does it?
No, it's
they should really just be orchestrating this and just helping people to do it.
It's an element of delegation, and it comes from having good processes and driving it in from a high level that this is important to the business as a whole, like.
Yeah.
And maybe even looking at kind of incentivizing people to improve it.
Yeah.
Based on their motivations.
Is there any downside with sharing these metrics with the team then? Not necessarily, you may not be comfortable sharing your profitability, for instance, but...
I mean, but if we're dealing here with kind of, it depends whether we're looking at kind of gross profit or net profit. I mean, gross profit should be something that should be shared, particularly with your management team. Yeah. Because ultimately that's where I think a lot of miscommunication falls down, is by the lack of commercial awareness across a firm. Like, well, I just do this part of the job, you know, I service it, you know, I do maybe do some billing and stuff, but I don't know how it like falls into the wider picture. Yeah, where they fit within the wider team performance. Yeah. So again, I think just having that wider awareness, and then it helps them because I mean, ultimately they're the ones that are actually doing the work, so they can identify, you know, where some of these issues are falling. Like, well, our average customer spend's low because we've got this list of clients that, you know, we're actually undercharging. We've been undercharging for years. Yeah. And similarly, you want those people looking at potential ways of upselling and cross-selling. That can't all happen from the business owner. The business owner's not likely to be sat in every single meeting. No. With a client. It shouldn't be. Yeah. It shouldn't be, yeah. I can't remember who it was now, but there was a great speaker at an event I went to probably last year now, and he had, you know, a very simple way of describing this: nose in, fingers out. Business owner, team leaders should know what's going on, nose in, should be interested, but keep your hands off it. Yeah. You know, just put the right team in and let them get on with it, and trust them to do it. Definitely, yeah. 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 And I think that's the only way you can do it if you've got a big team. If you've got a small team, you've got no excuse for not having this data. Yeah. If there's only you should know how many leads, because they should all come from you. Like, so if you're not measuring it, that's a choice. Yeah. And measuring doesn't count having it in your head either. No. You should know. Yeah. When they're like, yeah, I know exactly how many leads we've got. It doesn't count. Yeah, can you tell me then? About 8? Yeah. That's not exact, is it? Yeah, exactly. As soon as you answer right, about, you're not close enough. So anyway, I think that's, you know, pretty much covers off what we're came to talk about here. The 5 ways to improve your profit. Break it down, look at these sections, you know, and if you're not sure how you can even do this, just reach out, we'll be happy to help. But like I say, start by measuring, try and measure where you are, and then just aim for incremental improvements. Yeah. It hasn't got to be 10% next month. Just, you know, if you've got to improve each of these 10%, well, 1% a month. Anyone could do that. You'd fall out of bed and do that. But again, you've got to know why and what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, and how to go about it. Yeah. There you go. It's never been easier. Just fall out of bed and it'll happen. Is that the takeaway of this podcast? Yeah, absolutely. Measure how many times you fall out of bed and these things happen. But yeah, I hope that's been interesting. We'll try and get the infographic overlaid somewhere. If not, we'll flash it up every now and again so we know what we're talking about. Yeah, James will have some Michael Bay-esque, you know, special effects. I think you'll put over the top of this. We've just negotiated a big increase in the special effects budget for the podcast. a 3 billion% increase. We've now got £2 we can spend per episode. We're going to blast it on an infographic on this one. So hope you've enjoyed that. As always, we'd really welcome any feedback. Let us know how you get on. Let us know, you know, which one of these you think is easiest to improve for your business. Because you might say, well, I'm a, you know, ultra lean, you know, production process, I can't save any money there. That's fine. But you've just got 4 other areas you can go into here. Yeah, and I would challenge anyone to not be able to improve these. If you can't, then I would suggest you haven't got a business. You're a cog in a system. Or you're incredibly successful, in which case, then you reach out and make loads of money, and then reach out and tell us how you did it. Yeah. Thanks very much, Jack. As always, no worries. Great to have you on there. Thanks, everyone.